Hello everyone, hope you're having the most wonderful day today. Welcome to the Film Insight channel. For today's video, we're going to discuss some more of the worst restaurants to be featured on Kitchen Nightmares and review how they're doing now. So, sit back, relax, and without further ado, let's get right into the content, guys. Dylan's. For this season 1 episode, Gordon Ramsay heads over to a struggling restaurant called Dylan's to rescue it from closure. Opened by a man named Mohammed, he opened the business to make a new life for his family. Oddly, he's hired 3 different managers, namely a general manager named Martin, an operations manager named Andrew, and a floor manager named Khan. Despite hiring so many people to lead his restaurant to success, Dylan's is struggling and is losing well over $20,000 a month. Desperately needing some guidance before things fall apart, Mohammed decided to call out to Ramsay for some aid. Upon his eventual arrival, Ramsay sits down to test the food and is confused with the theme of the restaurant. According to Martin, the business is an American/Irish restaurant with an Indianness to it, leaving the famous chef feeling even more confused than before. After swatting away some pesky flies, Ramsay scans the giant menu and orders a collection of dishes. Starting with a vegetarian appetizer, the Kitchen Nightmares host has to send it back because they embarrassingly added some meat to it. Next, he receives the curry that he ordered, which was garnished with a rotten tomato, and a beef buna dish that uses lamb instead of beef. Heading into the kitchen to give his feedback on his dreadful meal, Ramsay expresses that he feels sick, and the chef admits that he might have served him some lamb that was old by accident. Observing the dinner service later on, the famous chef notices that the customers are just as confused about what to pick off the random menu. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, the chefs decide to put a huge tub of chicken on the floor, but Ramsay tells them to move it since it could be unhygienic and dangerous. The worst part is, despite the fact that there's an abundance of management present, they're barely doing anything to lead the staff. Appalled with what he was seeing, Ramsay gets into an argument with the general manager, who he calls a fake. Leaving and returning the following day, Ramsay inspects the kitchen and finds tons of dead flies, a disgusting looking hamburger, as well as rotting meat and vegetables. Ordering the staff to shut things down, the famous chef invites some exterminators and a group of professional cleaners to sanitize the place. Finally, after changing the menu to feature modern Indian cuisine, renaming the restaurant to Purnima, and giving the business a complete makeover, they finally got the second chance they needed. By the end of the episode, Ramsay advises Mohammed to fire one of his managers, and Martin shockingly quits after overhearing the conversation. Post Kitchen Nightmares, Martin decided to sue Ramsay's production company for $3 million for supposedly ruining his career. He also tried to prevent the episode from being aired, but the case was thrown out of court since it had no merit whatsoever. Unfortunately, while the restaurant managed to stay open for 3 whole years after being rescued, it closed down in 2009. In Purnima's place, a business called Characters Bar and Lounge opened up, and they completely redid the place. It has pretty good reviews, rocking 3.5 stars on Yelp, with most of the praise going towards the food and drinks. Campania. In yet another Season 1 episode, Gordon Ramsay heads over to Campania to bring it back on its feet. Owned by Joseph Cerniglia, he purchased the business back in 2006, and after only a year, he's already at risk of losing his restaurant. The main reason is because he's way too laid back, and this reflects itself in the way his staff behaves. To make matters even worse, the kitchen is in complete disrepair since they use broken ovens as storage and have a walk-in freezer with broken handles. Being over $250,000 in debt, Cerniglia decided to call out to Ramsay for some professional guidance. When he finally arrives, the famous chef is unimpressed to see that the restaurant is in a strip mall. After being greeted by the owner, who weirdly points a lot, Ramsay sits down to taste test the food. Ordering a tortellini that tastes bland, ravioli that's drenched in sauce, and a chicken dish that's very dry, Ramsay's left feeling disappointed. Heading into the kitchen soon after to give his feedback, the famous chef lets the cooks know that they're awful at making Italian food. Inspecting around, Ramsay notices that the kitchen is surprisingly clean, but is shocked to find that the fridge is loaded with food. Normally, fridges are filled for fully booked restaurants, but for ones like Campania who barely have any customers, it's a massive waste of money. Observing the dinner service later on, Ramsay takes note of the fact that the restaurant is quite overstaffed and gets the owner to boot 3 employees to cut costs. Like usual, the service was disastrous since the kitchen struggled to send out orders and produce low quality food. What's more, the portions they gave their customers were so incredibly large that most of them asked for takeaway bags. Ramsay points out that this is yet another reason why the owner's losing tons of money since he's giving away food for them to eat the next day instead of getting them to actually return. Following the piss poor service, the Kitchen Nightmares host pulls the owner aside to lecture him on the waste. Cerniglia expresses that the restaurant is known for its big portions and that the customers expect it when they come in. Leaving and returning the following day, Ramsay meets with the owner's wife Melissa, who shockingly reveals that they will lose their house if the restaurant fails. Hoping to rebrand the restaurant, the famous chef creates a new meatball signature dish and heads into town to promote New Jersey's best meatballs with samples and flyers. With the help of a branded truck and t-shirts, Ramsay and the Campania team traveled around New Jersey to market the business. Before moving into the renovations, Ramsey has one final talk with Cerniglia, telling him to step up if he wants the business to succeed. Working overnight, Ramsey revamped the menu, gave the dining room a beautiful makeover, and added new equipment to the kitchen. Post-Kitchen Nightmares, the business was reported to have drastically improved thanks to the changes made. Overall, the reviews on Yelp and TripAdvisor were relatively positive after the rescue, with many praising the food but others complaining about the wait times. Wanting to move on to other ventures, Cerniglia decided to sell the restaurant to Campania Holding Corp in 2010. Tragically, several days after this deal was made, he decided to take his own life by jumping off the George Washington Bridge. Ultimately, the place closed down in 2011 and a restaurant called Sage Restaurant opened up in its place. May he rest in peace. The Secret Garden. As our final entry, we're going to discuss a restaurant that Gordon Ramsay attempted to rescue called The Secret Garden. Owned by a French chef named Michel Bardavid, he's been running the restaurant for over 7 years. However, the business is currently $300,000 in debt, which is only climbing, and their customer base is non-existent. According to the restaurant's sous chef Devin, the owner has a massive ego and is extremely hard to work with. Since The Secret Garden was on its last leg, Bardavid decided to call out to Ramsay and his team for some help. Upon his eventual arrival, the famous chef struggles to find his way into the building since the front door is shut tight. Eventually finding a way in, Ramsay notices that the restaurant is practically a ghost town, but at least the owner is present. Looking around, the Kitchen Nightmares host is unimpressed with the outdated decor, synthetic flowers, and paper doilies on the table. Hungry, he immediately sits down to order some food and scans the menu, quickly picking some dishes. Getting a strawberry salad with garlic shrimp that were cold and undercooked, and a steak that was tough and tasteless, Ramsay was left with a worse first impression. Sharing his criticisms about his experience with the owner, he tells him that the dishes were boring, badly cooked, and bizarre. Due to Bardavid's massive ego, he doesn't take feedback very well, so Ramsay leaves out of irritation. Returning the following day, the famous chef heads into the kitchen to inspect around and is disgusted with what he sees. Aside from finding moldy food in the fridge, there's maggots squirming around, which sends Ramsay rushing to the bathroom to vomit. Incapable of admitting his faults, the owner gets defensive and points out that no kitchen is perfect. Angry with how filthy the place was, Ramsay forces the staff to deep clean the area before he can proceed with the rescue. Soon after they were done, the famous chef attempted to observe the dinner service, which predictably went horribly. The reason for this was that the dishes on the menu were way too complex and long to make, leaving the customers to wait for a while. Later on into the episode, Ramsay decides to board up and place foreclosure signs in front of the restaurant to give the owner a little shock. When Bardavid finally arrives, he's clearly angry and feels worried that his patrons will think that the place is actually closed. Ramsay reminds him that if he doesn't decide to change things soon, his business will be boarded up for real. Finally, after getting everyone on the same page, Ramsay was ready to move into the renovation phase. Starting by introducing a new menu which had some resistance from Bardavid, the famous chef also revamped the dining room and modernized it with new decor. Months after the taping of this episode, the owner decided it would be a good idea to revert back to the old menu. Interestingly enough, he was accused of putting up false reviews on Yelp to boost his restaurant's overall rating, but this wasn't confirmed. Unsurprisingly, the restaurant closed down in March of 2010 since the owner sold the place to someone else. Nowadays, Bardavid owns a restaurant called Custom Pie, which has pretty solid reviews. Well, that'll be all for today's video here on the channel. I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to drop a massive like down below and comment your thoughts. Subscribe for more content like this and turn on those sweet bell notifications for instant access to our content when it comes out. Finally, before we go, be sure that you have a great rest of your day and that you stay safe, and well, see you in the next one, guys.